Welcome to the WNBA on NBC. I'm joined by the Owen Pence, WNBA reporter and co-host of Pull Up with Owen and Miles. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Natalie. Such a pleasure to be back.
Always. I wish I could have you on more, but here we are. And we were at I think it was still a fun game last night, even though I don't know that the score technically reflects that. But interesting for a variety of reasons to me. But look, the New York Liberty, they were facing off against the Dallas Wings. And I expected to see a really motivated Liberty team because they've been playing pretty well. And also they lost the last game with Dallas. So I thought they definitely would want to win because, if you lose this, they lose the season series. So I just expected a really motivated Liberty team. And they started off pretty decently, but I don't know, Owen, something happened in the second quarter, and that's where the Wings really won the game. And once they took control there, even though the Liberty tried and they played well in the third and they made some runs, the Wings responded to every run and they pulled out, a double-digit victory. And so now they own the regular season series, the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Liberty. But I mean, it's just a really impressive win for a rebuilding Dallas Wings team.
To come into Barclays Center and take both games in New York is so impressive. And I think this game was won in the second quarter. The Wings went on a 19-0 run. And what sticks out to me from this one is who was missing on New York side. No Leonie Fibic was massive in this game. Satu Sabali also out. And so if you look at the box score, the Liberty finished with 77 points. 60 of those 77 points were scored by Brianna Stewart, Jonquel Jones, and Sabrina Ionescu. They only got 17 points from everyone else on the roster. And it's not to say that some of those other players weren't, doing good things here and there, but no one else was scoring. Maureen Johannes was the only other one who even had, more than 5 points aside from the big three. So that really stuck out. The Liberty got a little sloppy, 14 turnovers, 10 offensive boards allowed. And this Dallas team, to your point, they are coming into other people's buildings and saying, we're here. Like the Wings of the past that only won 10 games last season, that's over. This team is here. They're ready. And they have so many different players who can beat you. I think my favorite part of this game was that the first time they beat New York in late May, it was the Paige Becker's AZ Fudge show. And that's kind of what everyone came to see. That wasn't the case last night. Paige was solid, but wasn't super efficient from the field. AZ missed a lot of really good looks. They did a lot of other good stuff. They played really solid defense, but it was Jessica Shepard with a triple-double. It was Awat Kuir hitting threes. It was the depth that this team has built and that Kurt Miller as general manager has put together around the foundational superstar of Paige Becker's that really shone through last night. And it's a huge win. It's a bit of a statement win for the Wings.
Yeah, I would agree. And Jessica Shepard, triple double should just become synonymous with her name at this point, right? I mean, I think she's the only one who's had them this season, or she's had the most on the season, something like that. But she was terrific last night. I will say I respect to the Barclays crowd because last time I heard a lot of AZ and Paige Becker's cheers and I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen that in Barclays when the Liberty are playing. I certainly see it when the Nets are playing, but I have never. I know they didn't have to catch that straight.
No, that was good. That was worth it.
But not with the Liberty playing. So I was actually surprised to hear some Paige Becker's boos. I don't know if that's a new one. It's a new one for me for the first time hearing it. So they definitely had their crowd with them. Interesting enough, in the first matchup, Leonie also missed that matchup. I think she may have not been back from overseas or hadn't returned to play after she'd gotten back. But they did have Satu in that game, and they did have, the rest of the big three. And so, I don't know if this is a matchup thing with them in Dallas because the Aces have also, they finally got one win from Dallas, but they also lost 2 games to Dallas. And they were big, Dallas blew them out. The Aces just but I don't know. And so, I mean, obviously, both of these teams have championship aspirations, as in the Aces and the Liberty. So I think they can perform better in a series. But you like if you're Dallas and you're going into the postseason, you have to feel good that you've beaten the last two WNBA champions.
Absolutely. I think it all does start with Paige. Paige is someone who obviously won a national championship in college with UConn. She's someone who savors the moment. She wants to play against the best players. It gets her going. You see her start to talk her talk and just get in a feel that I'm going to be the player who takes over this game. And what was fun about last night against New York was that she didn't have to do that. That everyone else was flowing within this new system that head coach Jose Fernandez has implemented. But this is a team that now has enough pieces to compete in the playoffs and compete against the top teams. We haven't even mentioned Arike Agumbawale, who's one of the most clutch players in basketball history, and who's a bucket. And where she fits in is a fascinating part of this whole puzzle, because she's not the top scorer anymore. She's not the go-to person in the clutch, but she's someone who has so much gravity from an offensive perspective. And I think it's always been a little underappreciated as a connector. She's a really good teammate for someone whose reputation is just score first. And it's deserved. She is a score first player. That's her best skill. But she's willing to make the extra pass. She's not someone who is going to complain about not getting enough looks and, oh, it's Paige's team now. And so they have the talent to take it to these top teams. I do agree with you. I think that no Leo for New York is massive in both of these matchups. Leo is someone who tilts the pendulum, whatever you want to say, in New York's favor in every matchup they have. And it's because of her length defensively. She's also a really smart and important offensive player. She's a floor spacer. She's really good at cutting off the ball, but defensively is where she brings the most value. She is the person, if New York is playing man-to-man, that the Liberty will put on Paige Beckers. If New York is playing zone, which they've done a lot of this year in their 2-3 alignment, they have Stewie and Leo at the top of that zone, which is a really unique look, and it gives teams so many issues. And so I don't think we can truly judge where Dallas and New York stack up until both teams are fully healthy. Hopefully we get that if they do run into each other in the playoffs. But it's not insignificant that Dallas has done this against Las Vegas and New York. And you're right, a playoff series is always different. Matchups are more specifically catered and scouted in the playoffs, and New York and Vegas are built for the playoffs. So they're not going to lose sleep over losing regular season matchups. But for the challenger, for the team like Dallas, it does mean a lot, because it shows you that, hey, we can hang with this team that has been at the top of the league for years and years. And that's a huge jump for a team that, again, as I mentioned earlier, won 10 games last year and had the number one overall pick. This is a massive turnaround, and it's been really impressive to watch.
Absolutely. And let's take a look at the standings, because with that loss last night, okay, the Liberty dropped to 6. They're 13-9. Right. And so right now, if the season were to end today, they would not have a home court advantage in any round. Right now, the standings for a while now, Owen, 3 through, I want to say 7, have been really tight. I mean, now they're a little tighter because Asia Wilson has been hurt recently. So the Aces just lost the game. The Lynx lost their last 2 games. Olivia Miles went out in one of those games. They were probably going to lose against Liberty anyway. But then the next game, they certainly probably would have beaten the Connecticut Sun if Olivia was playing. They still don't have Nafisa Collier back. So we'll see how much the Lynx may be impacted. But you look at the Liberty and you look at the teams around them, right? And so they've lost the tiebreaker to the Wings right now, who are ahead of them. We have to see, I believe they've lost the tiebreaker to the Valkyries as well, who also have beaten them twice, right? And so those are potential, their ability to move up in these standings is like, you have to overtake teams completely, or you need to own tiebreakers. And they're not really setting themselves up for that. And so, I asked Sabrina Ionescu last night about the parity across the league, if she's feeling that when she's on the court, because it's something we talk about, but the standings also seem to reflect it. And she's like, yeah, everyone's beating one another, and even teams that are lower in the standings are beating teams that are top in the standings. And she's like, but we know at the end of the day, we don't care where we end up because we can beat anyone. And listen, I know last year the Liberty were not fully healthy, but I think you want home court advantage, at least in a round of the playoffs. I mean, I think, what was it, the Chicago Sky that made a run as like a 60 some years ago, but that's just not very common. Like, even though the Aces turned their season around, they turned their season around and went into the postseason last year as a 2 seed, Owen.
Yep. No, you're totally right. And I think Golden State's an interesting team to bring up because that is a team that has given New York problems and that has a home court advantage that feels pretty equivalent to what the vibe is at Barclays Center. There's some home court advantages that feel less daunting to walk into. Golden State is not one of them. This is a team in its second season, and in its first season, it was very notable to opponents. Whoa, playing Golden State in Golden State, not easy, not fun at all. It's really fun to me just looking at those standings that we're at essentially the halfway point. A lot of teams have played 22 of their 44 games. Some teams are at 21 games, 20, but we're essentially at the halfway point here. And the league continues to expand the regular season. Every year we get more and more games. And still, at the 50% mark, it is so bunched up. I mean, Atlanta's in 7th place. They're 3 games out of the top seed. You look at this, I think we've discussed this earlier in the year where it feels like the top 7 are the elite tier of the league, or if elite is too strong, that's the teams that are going to contend. And then 8 through 15 are the teams that are going to battle for that final playoff spot and could have a feel-good story of making the playoffs. Those teams are not going to win a playoff series. But you look at New York in 6th place, and they could easily launch up to the top spot if they get hot. Dallas is a team that is a game and a half out of first place, as we see the Valkyries a half game out of first. So there could be so much movement, which brings into play, as you mentioned, these tiebreak scenarios. And I do think that home court is going to be big. And it is a calculus. If you're missing players, Asia Wilson's missed a few games for the Aces. Olivia Miles has been out the last couple of games for Minnesota. At what point do you bring these players back? Do you play it cautiously and say, hey, we're gonna wait because all that matters is being healthy in the playoffs? Or are coaches starting to think about seeding right now? Because already there is a lot of movement every night and things are fluctuating drastically.
Yeah. I saw a Golden State Valkyries reporter say, like, they're trying to get into that top 2. And like, it would, if the Aces remain there, it will be hard for them to overtake the Aces because the Aces have won all the games this season. So you just have to have a better record than them. With the Lynx have also won 2 of the matchups, but they have 2 more. So they would need to win those. And then I don't even know what the next tiebreaker is. But right now, the Lynx have an advantage over them too. But I mean, we'll see. What I do want to ask you though, before we wrap, is what are the Wings? What's their ceiling? Because Tarika and I have talked about this a number of times. That's Tarika Foster Brasby, as you all know. And like, we've both sort of been cautious and hedged a little bit and said, like, look, we think Dallas is a playoff team. We think they're a team that no one is going to want to see in the playoffs. And like, their ceiling is probably the semis. But I mean, when they keep playing like this and they're still going to get better as the season progresses, I mean, is this a team that really can be a legit title contender and get there and get to the finals? I don't know if they'd win, but can they get there, Owen?
I do think they can get there. I agree that semifinals is likely their ceiling this year, which would be a massive win for the season as a whole. It feels to me like next year is the year that they will be capable of making the finals and winning the finals. I think something that stuck out, there was a lot of talk early in the season about the Wings defense. And this is a team that has so many prolific scorers and incredible offensive talent, but what's the defense going to look like? Right now, after this New York Liberty win, the Wings are 5th in net rating. They're 5th in offense. They're 6th in defense. And to me, that's a really good sign that they're just solid across the board as one of the better teams in the WNBA. The one thing that makes me think that I'm going to regret capping their ceiling at the semifinals is Paige Beckers. She, in her second season, it's just at some point you have to appreciate the creativity and the overall excellence of everything she does offensively. And by the way, really good defender too, has never gotten enough credit for her defense. She is solid as a defender, and solid might even be underselling it. But her offensive capabilities are through the roof, and it doesn't jump off the page because it's not 35 points and 13 assists and 7 3-pointers, but it's every game scoring 20 plus points and scoring the points that matter, scoring fourth quarter points, getting to her spots in the mid-range. One thing that I think is going to matter is that Paige loves operating in the mid-range, and that is a playoff bag. That is something that matters in the playoffs. We see time and again, whether it's the WNBA, the NBA, in the regular season, everyone's like, oh, mid-range doesn't matter. And then in the playoffs, the best scorers get to their spots from 10 to 16 feet because that is what is available. And she's one of the best passers that we've seen come into the WNBA in recent years. You put it all together, it's the complete package. It's a true superstar level player. And so that's what makes me think that even though I think next year is the year where they make the jump to true contender, this year probably like win a playoff round, get to the semifinals. I just hesitate to say that completely definitively because I think Paige could take this team as far as they want to go.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. So we'll just leave it there. Owen, thanks so much for joining me today on the WNBA on NBC. Always a pleasure to have you. Thanks to you all who are tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, the WNBA on NBC, so you do not miss out.